So, good afternoon to everyone.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, so we met.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. And today we'll have many more things to discuss, but in a compact manner, within 1.5 hours, we'll complete everything. From next Saturday onwards, I'm thinking to engage more people so that we can have at least 2-3 units every Saturday. So this will help us to cover most of the syllabus. And once you know the overall, theory, methodology, and all this, and some of issues, you'll have some idea about what is overall diaspora, migration, transnationalism, Indian diaspora, and you'll have some comparative understanding. So now I'll go one by one. First is about assignment. Today, I think last few days many people are asking, since September is the last date for you for submitting all assignment, we'll simplify everything. One thing I'll tell you, assignment is not very difficult. Just 1 minute. Can you see?
Yes, sir. Present is visible, sir. Yes.
So this is assignment and all the questions are here. Okay, you have choice at least, because assignment you don't give choice, because itself you are at home, you have reading material with you, and you can always write any question. So no need to have choice here. But still we have choice. At least one question you can skip. Okay, so these are all assignment for all the courses, including the elective courses, 7th and 8th. Okay, but I encourage all of you not to take 7th and 8th, rather take a project. Project will help you to learn things, and project also carries more values. Whenever you go for any job or anything, project component is very important, because they see whether you have some applied knowledge, whether you have some kinds of methodological, some kinds of grassroots survey methods, that all we employ, whether you have those knowledge or not. So with project, this program can be very valuable for you. So now I'll just say how to write this. In fact, these are all questions. If you have any queries, at least one person can submit or 2 person can submit me some answer. I'll take one class how to write answer and all. But now, since you have done graduation, you all of you know how to write answer. Long answer type you can write in 1000 to 1500 words. Short answer you can write in 200 words, even 250 words. Okay, so this I'll mention, but here I didn't mention because I thought many of you know. So this is the thing. I'll show you some sample where you should know how people are sending us the assignment. Okay. Can you see? Okay. So this is a sample assignment which you will receive through email. You can send the same thing through by post also. But since you are 40 people, 40 students, it is better to send by email, scanned one email, so that you need not.
Excuse me, sir.
Ah.
Sorry, sir, but it is not visible, sir.
Okay, 1 minute. Is it visible? No?
Yes, sir. Now it is visible. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Maybe some issue. So I'll give you this template in Word file. You can fill the first page, which only basic information about the course, about the in a particular your roll number, all this you can fill, and finally the date. And this you need not write because all the information are here. Then what you can do, then you can simply write by hand, no typing, because you are at home, you have to write by hand. Typing, somebody can copy, paste, and all this. That's why university discourage people to type things, because somebody can simply, copy paste. That's why when you write something, you will also learn things better. Okay. So this is a long type, you see, first one. So it is, some people write 2 pages, 3 pages, 4 pages, but ideally 1500 word or even 1000 words. Okay. You will know the question and answer, which question demand what, how much, you can know. So these are all answer. You can write like this. But I'll tell you another thing. Can you see now? No? 1 minute. 1 minute. Can you see?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, I'll stop one. Okay. So this template I'll circulate. Okay. All the basic information first page you write. Okay. This same page I'll circulate you. Then what you do, next page you keep the entire question. You can simply take a screenshot and paste the entire thing. Like, screenshot now. Like this you take. Okay. And you can copy and paste. So simply you keep the entire question format so that the examiner will know these are the instructions for a question, and these many choices are there. So examiner will not have any issue. So first page, basic information. Second page, you have the entire question set. You can copy paste from the PDF file. Simply take a screenshot and paste it here. After that, you write by hand from here onwards. You can simply write by your hand and complete the assignment. And once the assignment is over, you can simply email to our email to this. I think you know the email, PGDMIDI. Okay. So this is the email. You can okay. So this is the email you can send. So this way we can actually speed up the process. You send today, you get the mark maybe within a month, your grade card it will reflect. So no need to wait for postal delay and all this. You simply scan and send. So this is the thing I just thought all of you should know, so that there should not be any communication gap. How to write, where to send, when to send, all these are given. Okay. And simply word count, if you see 1500 word for the long type and short type around 250 words. So this is the basic thing about assignment. Okay, clear? Any question you can please clarify now.
So basically we have to write by hand, right? Yeah. And sir, can we just post that also, because if we post and you physical, it will be good, better for you.
You can no. Don't worry about better for me or whatever.
Okay.
You can do, choice is yours. You can send to this address.
Okay.
Okay. or you can simply scan the thing, and every mobile has a scanner.
Yeah, that's true.
So you just scan it, send through email, within minute I'll get.
Okay.
Instead of going through post office and sending around, spending 100 rupees, 200 rupees, spending your half day,
that's
just finish and scan. Maybe scanning will take 10 minutes and email another 5 minutes. Okay? It will speed up your thing. When we get more students, the other thing will work out, because right now these are all centrally managed, so few people will evaluate, so not a problem. Okay. Okay, any other thing we can clear the doubt now? We'll go to next page.
Sir, my doubt is, after every assignment number, we need to put the front page, or only once we have to put the front page and then we have to write the questions.
For each course, one separate assignment. Okay. For each course, you have to have front page and then write. So don't mix up with the course 1 to course 2 and all this. So you have 6 of major core courses. We write for all, 2 optional also. All together you can write. But those who have project, they have different procedure. I'll talk now about the project. But regarding assignment, each course should have one file. You write, in the by hand, scan it, and you can even copy all the scan page in a Word file, then convert to PDF, whichever convenient for you. Okay. So anybody want to say something? Okay. I'm looking. So this is the thing about assignment. So I'll go to now the project. Okay. Hope we are clear.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now I'll go to project. Just 1 minute. Can you see?
Yes,
Manish?
sir.
Okay. So actually project, those who are doing project, they'll get credit for 2 courses, course number 7 and 8 elective courses. So this project is very essential. It is a little advanced actually. People do at MA level, MPhil level, PhD level, but we are getting that opportunity at this stage. Many programs, they don't have project, but projects are very highly valued component of any program. Okay. So usually what happens, you all think of some project and you just share in the WhatsApp whether this topic is okay or not, and then you can write 1 page of synopsis. This is the project I want to do. I have access to field work, and this is the methodology I want to follow. I'll collect data like this, and then this project has this kind of major objectives. And simply you can write 30 pages, 40 pages, 50 pages, whatever, depending upon project. Have chapter, 3-4 chapters. Okay, I'll guide you how to write also, but you prepare some synopsis. I'll share some sample synopsis later on, but this is the way you can do. But there are so many areas you can cover in the project. For example, somebody is working on how Indians have gone to from various ports, like you can say Calcutta port and other ports, to other countries. They can work on archival sources. You can work on simply on Bollywood movies and how the movies, particularly take one or two movies and see the diasporic side in that. There are so many movies in Hindi, in Tamil and all, where you find the diasporic aspect. So you can take single movie or you can take 2-3 movies and narrate those things. So that is another project. Then you can talk about biographical studies. For example, you can bring a case of, Subhash Chandra Bose ka Bahar, means whatever he did on freedom movement, Mahatma Gandhi and all, some biographical thing. Or you can do on diasporic poetry. There are, Jahaji songs. You can bring those and you can narrate them and all those things you can do. Then you can do on popular culture. Popular culture means like there are chutney music. You simply watch some YouTube chutney music, compile, narrate them, and you can compare with Trinidad Tobago, with Guyana, all those things. All are available in YouTube. Okay. And you talk about new media. So many areas are there, like you can find even matrimonial sites, how they work transnationally. Even you talk about how political mobilization is happening, Facebook page of Indian diaspora and all, you can study those. Or you can simply talk about diaspora engagement, like somebody from Bihar. If you can study on how people are going to Gulf and bringing money and how they are using on remittance. Okay, so many issues. Just you have to be creative. Okay, you can even think about diasporic radio program. So many programs are there. Diasporic television channels. You can even talk about some books, literature books of some people. Some of you maybe you are from literary background. You can even study the book, the writings of Jhumpa Lahiri and all this. Bring those stories, B.S. Naipaul and all. So we have, the sky is the limit. So many issues are there, and if you all need, we can have a special session how to conceptualize a project, how to go about it, how to collect data and all this. We can even form a team, those who are better, like some of you are familiar with field work and all, we can help each other. So that is how we can do. Okay, so Manish.
Sir, you are talking about diaspora only. It can be migration also, no? Immigration also in India.
Yes, you can do anything. I just gave some example. You can talk about immigration. You can talk about refugee community within India, like Tibetan. You can talk about cities. You can talk about Bangladeshi migrants here. Anything. I'm saying migration also you can talk. Diaspora also can talk. Transnationalism also can talk. Refugee. Everything you can talk. So I just gave some example.
Okay, sir.
So is it internal migration also comes under the category?
We are actually linking migration with diaspora, so that is only international migration.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So this program is only for international migration because diaspora doesn't link with the internal migration.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other? Okay, so what we'll do, WhatsApp group we have, email also we have, keep flooding with your queries, message, we can keep replying, 24/7 will be always available. So you got some material now, course 1, 2 and 4, others will be very soon will give. So keep reading and do your assignment, and even give me some assignment, at least some questions, some answers you give, and suggest how to improve them. Okay. So this is the thing we can do. Project component I briefly told, but if you need more clarification, I'll talk in other classes also. Okay. Is it okay now? I'll stop here. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
So now I'll present our second topic, that is transnationalism and globalization. Is it visible?
Yes,
Is it?
sir.
Okay. So all of you know migration, what is migration and what is diaspora. Last time I told you, migration is, international migration is moving one place to another. Okay. Mostly so many reasons are there. I told push factor, pull factors. There are factors which are, more psychological also. There are factors which are, due to calamity, disaster, war and all, which work as a push factor. There are factors which related to career and other thing which works as a pull factor. So broadly push and pull, or so many other factors are there. So we can think migration from one country to another. But when we talk about diaspora, actually migration is very important for diaspora, because if there is no migration, we cannot think of diaspora. But diaspora is different from migration in the sense migration is just going to another country, they can come back, they can go to another country, they can lose their culture, and this is happening across the countries, across human civilization all the time. But diaspora is a different thing. It is kind of linking socio-culturally, emotionally with the homeland. Okay, from where they have gone, they are still linked with that country. And today with new media and other thing, this is becoming very much powerful force. In fact, the new media is making a real life connection. Okay, people are watching television, clapping, in real life. When you watch cricket match, IPL, whether you are in the field or in the, you are watching it on the TV, you don't lose time. It is a real time. So across the globe, people are watching it, experiencing as anybody can experience in real life situation. Same thing with politics, same thing with purchasing anything, same thing with everything. So with the use of new media or any form of other media, we are now having a live experience of how to connect with motherland, home country, host country. So all these are happening. So this is a very interesting phase of human civilization. And when you talk migration, diaspora, then the next one, which is very recent actually, that is called transnationalism. So what is transnationalism? If you just divide the word transnationalism, what kind of meaning we create? What kind of thought comes to our mind? Anybody can guess? When you talk about transnationalism, what kind of phenomena you think of? What is that?
So transnationalism, I feel that if we look at generally, every individual is related to a particular nation and particular nationality. Transnationalism occurs when you cross the boundaries of a particular nation and you are not associated with a particular nation, rather you become a global person. For example, it is used in a companies also. For example, certain companies are there like Google. We say that they are American company. But there are certain companies like Nestle. They are transnational company. We cannot figure out from which company they are. So I feel that transnationalism is crossing from our own national boundaries, not being linked to any particular nation and being a global citizen.
Very, very, very good. In fact, this concept actually popularized by the corporate soul. Okay, so now it is applied to human being, communities, families, even ideas, even so many things. Transnational capital we call, even the kind of currency we use now, dollar, euros, they are very transnational. Bitcoin, you don't know which nation it is having no presence. It can be at the same time, its value and everything transnational. Any country can use Bitcoin. So these are all happening, we are experiencing now. So any other person?
Sir. Hello, sir. Sir, what you just described is internationalism. No? International currency is not transnational. What I think transnational is something like your status, like dual citizenship, refugee, NRI, that kind of situation where you live, that phenomenon could be transnationalism. No? What you just described is international.
Actually, there is not much difference. There is difference, but when you apply to human being, what you are saying is correct. But transnationalism also applies to capital. It also applies to various, ideas. It also applies to corporate. Everywhere, like globalization. It is not just, globalization of idea or globalization of individual. It is globalization of even psychology. You have friendship across the globe. You may not have friendship with your neighbor, but you may have friends in America. Okay? So like, this is actually cut across, it is not just individual existence. Capital is also transnational, idea also transnational, things are also transnational. I gave example of how television channels, how the social media, how is the election happening transnationally. In the sense, if you talk about Indian election, many of you know there is a platform across the globe. For every party, they mobilize across the globe, they celebrate across the globe, they have presence across the globe. So every domain there is a transnational aspect. Okay, so that is what we'll explain now. But this is okay. So we'll be in this unit. We'll be talking about how globalization and transnationalism are connected, and how it's understand the application and impact on the society, culture, and political system. Explore the diverse relationship between the two terms with their similarity and differences. Okay. So transnationalism is very much linked to migration, as you told. It can be migrant. For example, people are going, connecting, networking with so many countries today. For example, people are going to Gulf. If somebody from Kerala, they know better. 30 years back, 40 years back, many Malayalis, they used to go to Gulf. Okay. Now they have gone from Gulf to other countries. Same with Punjab and same with many other states. So they, from one place to next place they go, but the relationship they maintain. So that kind of transnational relationship they maintain, and they create a migration system where it support migrants. If they can, they face problem in Gulf, they'll go to USA. If they face problem in USA, they can come to another country, Malaysia. They need not to come back to host country. So this is a transnational network they create, both migration and diaspora, where they actually take help of those network and support each other, support their communities, poor diasporas, and like this. Migration, as I told you, is a change of residence permanently, semi-permanently for livelihood or any other reason. Not necessarily people migrate for livelihood, sometimes because of survival also. Just may not be livelihood, just they have to survive. Okay, war and so many other places, refugee, they are just going. They have no livelihood option also. They are just passing time in a, kind of jail environment. Many places, some refugees are experiencing like this. International migration is just political boundaries, as I mentioned, national boundaries. Diaspora is a socio and cultural, psychological aspect of permanent international migration. But over the time, you find diaspora is very much, generalized and used for any international migrant. So these three words are very important to think how transnationalism works. You see this picture, these are all interconnected. Some people are connected to 2-3 countries and all. This is just a map I thought it can explain. And people are networked from this country to that country. So when we define transnationalism is a very important term today. It affects diverse area of international governance, including interstate politics, values, foreign policy, international organization, and also personal lives. Non-state actors such as ethnic organization, professional bodies, corporate having transnational presence. For example, when we talk about, all of you know very well, like Gujaratis, Sindhis, Jews, these are all business community, okay? And they cut across nation. If you see one Sindhi family living in Singapore, having that another, family in Malaysia, another in UK, another in USA, and they get together during festivals such as Diwali and all. So this is a part of our globalized experience today. And nobody can actually, even those are in internally migrant, for example, within India also, we got across state. Your brother is maybe in Bombay, sister is in Delhi, father is in your native place, and we all, connect to each other every day over phone, over, Zoom or whatever, and you meet occasionally. So within country also, and those are very much transnational outside country, they maintain such ties across border. And that is a way of life for several communities for centuries. As I mentioned, many Gujaratis, when they, even pre-colonial time, they have gone to East Africa and other countries. And from there, they migrated to UK and other countries. And you find at a time they have base in India, Uganda, and UK, USA, and all this. So these are all, so many studies you can also find about Sindhis, transnational Sindhis and all. And I'll give the reference. You can find many interesting community life, how they are living at the same time, interacting transnationally. There are also professional bodies, like for example, you talk about sociological association, you talk about migrant association, international association, you talk about any professional, lawyers beyond borders, there are associations like this. So across the globe, there are professionals who are, not only maintaining professional, network, they are also exchanging ideas, resources, and all. For example, you see there are diasporic organizations like GOPIO. They have presence in many countries, 15 to 20 countries. New York, maybe their head office. They have offices in Amsterdam and all other places, and they have annual meeting and like this. they have a transnational existence. Corporate, as Manish already told, so many corporate like Google, Microsoft, many Indian companies also becoming transnational. You find, especially Tata and many corporate, they have presence transnationally. In fact, one of the largest transnational companies, Tata company. So they have presence in Africa, Asia, USA, every countries, and they have diverse range of activities. So this actually uh, is a way of life during globalization. You know very well this can be a positive sign. There is a other side also. You must have seen how the transnational communities, even criminals also maintain transnational network. You find the most underworld communities. Those are especially kind of those who operate across nation. There are very big, criminal groups across globe. So they bypass laws of the country and they operate transnationally. Those are very much, there. There are lobby group also who works internationally. So these are all example of transnational, and it can apply to corporate, it can apply to family, it can apply to ethnic group, and all these are there. So transnational perspectives provide deeper understanding into the number of globally contingent social, economic, and political processes, including social movement, governance and politics, terrorism, political violence, and organized crime, among others. You must have seen when political movements happen. For example, Ukraine-Russia war, okay? You find global support. You find protest across in the world, in Europe and other countries. Same thing, any country, something happening, you find protest or support or anything across the globe. Even the kind of organized crime also fought across nations. So these are all, when we talk about transnationalism, this is the very much happening across the globe, and social media, transport, like very quick transport and all, actually is a driving force for making transnationalism more in the sense more sustainable. Okay. In fact, transnationalism is not a new term. It was first cited in 1916 by American writer Randolph Bourne in his paper Transnational America, describing what today we call multiculturalism. Like many concepts, many terms, transnationalism also first used as multiculturalism, but that was the time it originally used, but later it evolved. Same with diaspora, initially it was used for Jews, means those who actually have kind of, painful execution from their mother countries and longing to come back. But today it has evolved a lot, Jews are only one form of diaspora, but when you talk of diaspora, there are many forms of diaspora, which may be just opposite to Jews. So like that, this term also evolved, and now we not come up with multiculturalism. Some of you, like Manish told, internationalism. So these are very closely, some aspect they actually share with transnationalism. Okay, when you talk of multiculturalism, it is entire, various culture coexist in one place. Big cities like London, USA, even Delhi also to some extent. So big cities, you have different national cultures, different culture across globe, they are coexisting. That is multiculturalism. And it actually evolved in Australia as a policy option to address the conflicting issues of several cultural tension, cultural contestation happening. So they used this multiculturalism term in a policy. So after that, this term also used in a larger context. So this was the original use of transnationalism. Then it was later used in a variety of sense. So transnationalism, as defined by Bast, is a process by which migrants, through their daily life activities, create a social field that cross national boundaries. As I mentioned, Gujarati business trade group, trade families, enterprising family, Sindhis families, community organization like Gopio, professional bodies. So they create a social field also that cut across nation and they operate very efficiently. So these are all, you can define the transnationalism like this. Transnationalism broadly refers to multiple ties and interaction linking people or institutions across the border of nation state. Okay, these are the definition you can give. Transnationalism has multiple meaning. Different disciplinary approaches to the concept varies. For example, there are economics, which economists see transnationalism in terms of capital, how money, capital flows from one country to another, how corporate, have presence in different countries at the same time they, operate. Many corporate, their head office is in other countries, but they're operating globally. So this is what economic side of transnationalism. When you talk about social side, I talked about various community, how their families they maintain. Cultural also, we talked about how variety of culture. When you talk about Indian culture, many people they like Hindu culture, Islamic culture, these are also becoming transnational. People go to Bali, Indonesia to learn Hinduism. Okay, yoga and all this. They can come India also, but there are transnational movements are happening and cultural, because of globalization, culture also spreading transnationalism. And you find even some countries like diaspora, like Trinidad, Tobago, Malaysia and all, you find cultural globalization, cultural transnationalism. Many of you will find Little India in Australia, in USA, in Malaysia, Hong Kong, and everywhere. And that is how Indian culture, culinary culture, dress culture, movie, and everything, becoming transnational. So these are all, some of you can even do project on this. And geographical, also geographical, if you see, there are though national boundaries, but there are, people are going from one boundary to another boundary and they are maintaining that. And sometimes the political boundary also cut across, people believe we are Indian, even though they are in USA and other, they celebrate the Independence Day of India and all this. So sometimes your geographical boundary, what to consider India, is, operate beyond India. So these are all very much, latest form of, life, which we are experiencing globally. Okay. So there are, when you talk about transnationalism, there are two ways you can think of. Like some of you told corporation. Corporation, it can be a top from above, top down. They can, have office in New York, but they can spread to the globe, from top to other country, bottom. There are transnationalism from below, like, for example, we talk about people moving from one rural area to, going to New York, and they're sending the money. Okay, individual contribution, like, you can find remittance and all this. So all these are people, one person, they're going from grassroots to, other place, and they're impacting the transnationalism. That is transnationalism from below. Okay. So this is two ways it can happen. So this is what we are experiencing. Like when we talk about transnational economic sense, which we call about investment. Okay, there are transnational investment, transnational remittances. Okay, people, when you talk about migration and diaspora, people can work in several countries, 3 months in Malaysia, 4 months in Gulf. Many professionals are working also like this, and they're sending remittances. And many are another trend is happening. Many are working while traveling. Okay, they can be a performing artist. They can they can be yoga teacher. Today, one year they can spend in New York. Next year they can spend in Singapore. So there are some skills and knowledge you are globally supplied, also demanded also. So there are people who are moving across and sending remittance also. So like this, and money and capital, they can move from one country to another. Okay, Manish. Hello, Manish.
Yes, sir.
Actually, you are, I think, speaking or something.
Yeah, no, there was one person I was giving a direction. I'm really sorry for that, sir.
No problem. If that is the case, you can stop your video, because I am also looking at all the
Yeah,
stuff. Okay. So these are all economic aspect, and then political aspect also. Today across parties you have transnational existence. One of my students also did a research on transnational politics and new media, especially how the Indian political parties, they have a transnational network. BJP, Aam Aadmi Party, Congress, or any party you take, even DMK, Akalis and all, they have transnational political network, and they mobilize not only resources but also support, online support, philanthropic support, campaign, everything they do. So these are all new form of existence which were there also earlier, but now it is happening in a more intensive manner. So we find the transnational politics also. Same with if you see any kind of protest also, as I mentioned earlier. So politically also, we are becoming very transnational. This was also happening during freedom movement. You find Subhash Chandra Bose transnational operating, Mahatma Gandhi transnational operating from this colony to that anti-colonial movement, which actually helped to get many colonies independent. It was a transnational movement, and today also we have transnational political network. So there is also socio-cultural transnational existence, activities. You find many families, as I already gave an example. Okay, so there are many ways you can actually think of transnationalism. Very much happening, very powerful happening, and very much you are part of that. When you are in the Facebook or Twitter, you are transnational. Okay, you are either you are tweeting somebody's idea, supporting. It may be related to environment campaign. It may be related to anti-corruption movement. It may be related to your subject area. We are all transnationally linked, which is very much part of our life now. So when we talk about globalization and transnationalism, globalization implies the development of an increasingly integrated global order, which overrides the local and the national. Both the processes, however, espouse for free flow of capital, ideas, and people, and complement each other. When we talk about transnationalism and globalization, both are feeding each other. We cannot separate that. One is globalized, globalization happening since several centuries, especially with the colonial movement. British, French, Dutch, they have conquered the world, most part of the world, made them colonies, exploited the resources, channelized the resources, and they made a globalization of goods and services, political network, and all this. So globalization, they created a global infrastructure also with transport and all this, with the postal service, with the kind of communication system where you can communicate across the globe through telephone, and now lately we find internet and all this. These are all the drivers of globalization. This actually feed into transnationalism, where people not only pushed from one country to another, but they are also, making globalization sustainable by themselves participating in this through, like remittance, I told you, sending capital, sending money, acting as a philanthropist, sharing their ideas. So they're participating in a globalized movement transnationally. Okay, one professor can talk. Most of our program now, we see our participants are now even outside India. They are staying. So this is also a form of transnational, sharing of ideas, and education is becoming transnational also. So this is all part of our life now. So this is, as I mentioned, globalization and transnationalism. They are inseparable. They are feeding to each other. So when we talk about globalization, it constitutes integration of national economy into the international economy through trade, direct foreign investment, all this. Okay. So if you are today, Sri Lanka is facing problem. They don't have basic food and fuel and all this. They are getting support from India, from other countries. Okay, they are getting money, they are getting food and other things. So this is what globalization brought, and this, when it becomes cutting across nation, this is also transnational. So this is very much part of our life today. Globalization is a reality that now affects every part of the globe and every person on it, even though in widely differing local context. Okay, there are new concept actually. Not globalization is it is a force, but it doesn't benefit everyone same way. It can also marginalize. Okay, many countries, because of globalization, in the history of colonization, it prospered European countries, but it marginalized many Africa and Asia. Now those are capable of riding the globalization. They are also coming with the they are like China and India of recent times, last few decades. They are also taking both the positive side of globalization, but it is also affecting the society in a negative way, many countries. So globalization is a big force where all this integration happens, capital flows from one country to another, but it has differential impact. Okay, a progressive increase in the scale of social processes from a local or regional to a world level. You find today, like I mentioned, the Little India. You go to many countries, and this Little India is like islands within the big city. And once you enter that, you cannot differentiate whether it is Kuala Lumpur or a place in Mumbai or Chennai. Okay, so that is the kind of local culture becoming global. So this is also part of globalization, and this is how you find local things going global. This is also happening. So when you talk about dimension of globalization, it doesn't confine to people only. It is, about the people, it is about the things, it is about activities, it is about values. Okay? When we talk about globalization, migration is the human face of globalization. We all call diaspora and migration because human beings themselves becoming a part of a global movement. Okay? You find sometimes, many people are, because of global supply and demand, you see, the migration channels are opened accordingly. For example, when we talk about USA, they take the most high-skilled people. Talk about Gulf, they take semi-skilled, high-skilled, unskilled also. Talk about various. So that is how people actually not only migrate, but it is not that easy also. They go through a selection process. So this is how they use network. Sometimes they use all channels to migrate from one country to another country. So this is how human become part of globalization, and how it integrates through communication, cities and geographies. Okay, then for example, you talk about multiculturalism. We are talking big cities are now, people go there, not only they maintain their culture, sometimes they also assimilate. They cannot maintain in a condition where people are very less. They cannot do. Only places where they become, they survive, maintain their identity where their population is large. Okay? Where you talk about diaspora, because diaspora doesn't survive in a limited number. We have seen the history of human civilization. There are many places where Indians, they lost their mother tongue, they lost their food habit, many things, language, uh, everything, okay? Because their number is very less, and in order to survive their, for example, language, they need more people. If you only 4, 5 people are there in another country and they don't know each other properly, they cannot sustain one language. So this is how integration happens through a variety of language, communication and all. Globalization works. Then population and inequality. That is also, as I mentioned, there are places where actually there is conflict because of migration. People move from, even in India, you see, we have a problem with the Rohingyas, Bangladeshi, that is becoming a very hot issue in India. Very conflicting issue. Election time, you see, we create lots of issues related to that because many countries cannot absorb extra number of migrants. So it creates problem. It creates sometimes inequality. It can create prosperity also. So as we see, sometimes migrants are resourceful, sometimes they can be a burden on the existing resources. So these are all issues across the globe happening. And you find a lot of countries, anti-immigrant movements are happening also. So this is what, form of globalization. When we talk about things, it is trade and commodity, transport, resource and environment, when very interestingly, transport also, because of, ships and kind of aeroplane, if you see the destination country and all, this is all labor supply and demand. Okay, you see Kerala, being a small state, they have 3 international airports, and they have more flights to Gulf rather than Indian cities, because the population movements are, migration is happening to Gulf countries more. So this is how transport is happening. It is very much global now. Kerala is more globalized than their transport is more globalized than nationalized. In fact, nationally, they have. You see, those are from Kerala. They can share more point on that, their idea also. But many small places, like if you go to Bali, Indonesia, this is a small place, and because of tourism, their flights are more with Australia, with USA, with other countries than within Indonesia. So this is part transport is globalized. Same with big cities if you see. Delhi may have more international exposure than cities like Patna, Bhubaneswar and all. Okay, some cities they may not have flight directly to abroad. So this is how transport system is highly globalized. Trade and commodities, resource and environment. As I mentioned, resources. Most of the fights are also based on resources. Oil is a conflict. Even when the colonial power were there, they conquered the entire world, Asia, Africa, Latin America, not because of people. It is of resources. Lots of raw material they used. Lots of um, timber, so many things. You see, Andaman Nicobar, you have once upon a time it was the largest timber supplying zone for British. So like that, Gulf is supplying oil to the entire world. So that became a globalized place for resource. So like that is happening. So when you talk about activities, capital, business organization, so many things, multinational corporations, they are operating across the globe. Values also, when you talk about ideas, ideologies, when you talk about, for example, multiculturalism as an idea, it is global, it is a globalized idea. Okay, so like that, you talk about any, today, any kind of education system, any kind of human rights, any kind of thing, it is highly globalized. So this is in a nutshell, is various dimensions of globalization, which is affecting people, things, action, and values. Okay, so now we'll go to how both the terms transnationalism and globalization linked. So globalization actually aids the intensification of worldwide social relation, which link distant locality in such way that local happenings are shaped by events occurring miles away and vice versa. You all know, if Indian Independence Day is celebrated, most of the countries, wherever Indians are there, they celebrate. Diwali is celebrated, you can go, many gas-free countries celebrate. Same with anything, where, gas-free people are there, any local event become global event. Any big, small issue happening, protest across India, something happened within India, it become global event. 9/11 is a global event. Across the world, you find reaction, protest, and so many. Then also this also like transfer of cultural practices, like find Chinese Maggie going global, McDonald's, dosa idli is a part of all, all over the world you find South Indian restaurants, whether we are in Singapore or New York, any big city, you find South Indian restaurant, Indian, North Indian restaurant, Chinese restaurant, McDonald's, everywhere. This is how not just we are globalized, we are transnational also. Because this supply chain is very transnational. Okay. You find long distance politics. This is a very transnational existence. Cuban population in Florida advocating for the fall of communism in Cuba. Supporter of various political parties, as I gave example, they are campaigning outside India for India. Okay, so like there was Palestine and LTT movement also, which has a very transnational form of movement, which not only mobilized people but also resources. Okay, and sometimes transnational population or diasporic exile or opposition groups. For example, I tell you, like Cuban group, I gave you example. Earlier, many like Cubans were executed from Cuba, Chinese were executed from China before communist came. So they became globalized. So the people, they actually, sometimes they are continuously opposed to their nation state. And they are very transnational. Same with the LTT, Palestine movement. You find transnationally they are opposing certain things. Okay, so these are very much part of our existence. Then we talk about dual citizenship nationality, marked by global upward trend in claims through naturalization, marriage, birth, widespread government policy shifts. So when you give dual citizenship, we are actually facilitating citizens. They can have almost similar right within India also, being a citizen in another country. Though it is not, given to all countries because there are own problem also. Many don't want that, but these kind of things actually create transnational platform. So when you talk about evolution of transnationalism, transnationalism is linked to globalization process. As we all know, globalization is actually making people going up everywhere. Transport system, communication system, it's creating a globalized impact. So that is facilitating people not just to maintain home and host relation, but home and multiple host. Okay, there is multiple home and multiple host also. That also will explain how in transnationalism, for example, if a big family or community, they have a large part of their community living in Uganda, so that becomes their second home. First home may be India, because India may not have their very much, family ties. Just because they are emotionally linked, they may have feeling of home here. But real, their family people are staying either in Uganda or other countries. So that becomes second home. So they can have multiple home and multiple hosts. So this is a transnational existence. So now, when you talk about that is the existence we found happening also, earlier also happening. But with the new technology connecting with the long distance network, with the increasing speed and efficiency, transnational existence becoming a normal type existence. People accept this is the very much normal. Whether I stay in New York for 1 year or Kuala Lumpur, no matter. I can feel like home anywhere. Okay, this is because of real life situation created by instant messaging, email, Zoom, low cost air travel, all these are facilitating the transnationalism. Okay, so this is same extension. Okay, and you find so many transnational identities also, especially in the second and third generation. First generation, they may have one country to another. But when the second generation, their offspring come, their son, daughter, grandson, they become more transnational. They spread to different countries because of several reasons. Okay, so ethnographic evidence of Mexican, Central African, Caribbeans, South Africans. Okay, like all this, see many of these countries, they called a very broad term Latino. Latino, that term can be Mexico, that term can be applied to many of the North American countries. Okay, so that is how a transnational identities also emerge. For example, Bollywood is also transnational identity, which actually at least 3-4 nations, Nepal, Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, and all these countries who actually see Bollywood movies are part of their transnational cultural identity. It is not just confined to India or Bombay. So because of this is the only available option for many people, and Bollywood is such a powerful force. it becomes a transnational cultural identity. Okay. So, but there are also challenges when you talk about transnationalism. This also challenge sometimes the economic globalization, multicultural political agreements, and all this. As you know, there are issues of terrorism, there are issues of political, minority and majority in some countries because of, cumulative migration. They're becoming, the natives are becoming minority. So these are all conflicting areas which actually create more problem. And this also sometimes create a politically very active group where they can control many political happenings at the same time, no kind of responsibility. For example, those are campaigning for India. They don't experience like we experience within India. Any political parties, people are campaigning from New York, people are campaigning from other countries. They may make a party win, they may give money, but they may not also have any responsibility. Whether party win or not, they don't experience directly as the citizens of India will experience. So there are so many challenges within the home country and host countries. Okay, people also think about national, anti-national. Whether many people who are coming from outside country, whether they are really love our nation or not. There are so many cross-border multiple identity issue. People are simply feeling uncomfortable with so many identity. Whether we call America or America hyphenated Indian or simply American. These are all contestation, and you find recent hiring in a school gone, America it is happening. Most of the killings are related to actually ethnic minority people. So they don't like ethnic minority coming so much, and they perceive that they're probably they will take our country to their hand over time. And this is a demographic thing happen anytime if you facilitate migration. So this is a conflicting thing happening in many countries, in UK, America and all. Okay. So we talk about the immigrant or diaspora develop their own network, ideologies, living style, etc. There will be demographic shift, as I mentioned. There will be ethnic conflict. Okay. There are already history of ethnic conflict across the globe. These are some of the challenges. Okay, when you talk about Indian diaspora and transnationalism, in fact, Indian diaspora spread across, I think, almost every country, but there are some sources which say more than 100, 150 countries. And cumulatively, both international migrants and diaspora put together, various sources we see, there are around 30 million total population, which is a very, very big number. And they constitute majority in many countries like Suriname, Guyana, Trinidad, Tobago, and many countries like Mauritius, Seychelles, where Indians actually constitute more than some countries 70-80%. Okay, so that is also contestation for local community. They find threatened actually. There are many of you know in Fiji there are conflict where they actually with the gun they seize the parliament because they feel the country is under Indian control. Okay, so there are conflicts happening. Then there are related to family into several countries, twice migrants. So these are so many issues we have in hand when you talk about transnationalism. Also, when you talk about transnationalism, there are when you think of Indian, there are two forms of transnationalism: old Indian diaspora, new Indian diaspora, and their transnationalism is very different. Okay, when you talk about old Indian diaspora, especially in big cities like New York, you'll find coinage of Indian origin. Okay, They have different association, they have different network, and they are very comfortable with their old community. Like Guyanese are very comfortable with Trinidad Tobago, people of Indian origin from there. But you find also new Indian diaspora, like the professionals, those are going from India recently or last 30, 40 years. They have a different kind of association. Okay, so their dynamics, their network is different. When you talk about transnationalism, both are different. Their cultural orientation with India is different. So all these are very much, we can debate and discuss. When you read more material, we know. Okay. So globalization is very much linked to both diaspora and transnationalism because it actually intensifies that movement. It intensifies more migration, more kind of migration system it creates where migration becomes sustainable and all this. Okay. It is also globalization also create not just a real movement of people, but also virtual space it gives, like the internet, like social media and so many things. So that way, it is very, very important area and we can only study this from the interdisciplinary point of view and it is a very rich area actually. Transnationalism is a very, very rich area and I also suggest to some of you should do project in this area because you can actually see how things are happening. Whether it is a Facebook page of Indian diaspora or a Twitter group and how they're active, how they're mobilizing, how many countries are their presence and what kind of issues they're bringing. You can make a case study. So this is a very interesting area you can think. Finally, these are the references you can read if you are interested more to know about what is transnationalism. One of the very pioneering work is by Stephen Bartlett, that is on transnationalism. Then Reiner and Thomas Fish, Diaspora and Transnationalism, Concept, Theories, and Method. This book is freely available online. You can even Google it. Okay. Then you have Brinda, Brinda and Adults Handbook on Transnationalism. So these are the further reference. But if we only have time, otherwise our study material is enough. This talk is enough. And if there is any query, you can always write us. Okay. I hope you got some knowledge on this. So now I'll be opening for 5 minutes maybe for question answer. Okay. Please feel free and actually if we have question answer and interaction only, we can avoid the post-launch sleeping movement. Okay. Many may be tired, sleeping, but we cannot help. We have to cover the programs. You can see this online anytime. It is already recorded. Okay. Anything you please let me know. Okay.
So this is Abha. Sadhana Singh, good afternoon. Sir, I just wanted to know when we are talking about our project work on transnationalism, how do you propose it should be done? Because it's just an online study is enough, because I don't think so we will be able to get in data and other things or related to, let's say, if we say how many people have migrated to Maldives, what have been done, what is the remittances which is coming in, and what are the sectors where people are going and why people are going. All these things we will not be able to gather the data for. Na? So do you think it will be just a more of a DEX research?
See, you do this data is what you are saying, this you cannot do through online. You have to study, so many reports are available, so many studies are available, data online, people don't share many things. Online is how people are operating. For example, I tell you, if you want to study about the political parties and their transnational existence, that way you can do. Other data you can get from other sources. You study need not to have data from one sources. This content analysis you can do for certain things. For example, you study about particular Indian corporates, okay? Particular Indian community. For example, you talk about Gopio. You talk about even Punjabi transnationalism. You talk about any community, okay? So that you have to see online how they are operating. But how many Punjabis are migrated and all you can get from other sources. To write one history about demography, maybe your past chapter, you can always depend upon other sources. This social media you can use for other sources, and this you have to combine. Okay. And many methods are there. Wherever you find appropriate, you do whatever appropriate. For example, philanthropy. Okay, philanthropy. I talk. If you are somewhere near a school near your neighbor and that is sponsored by some NRI. Okay, if you simply study that school, you know to go to any online. You have access to offline. Okay, you can study there. Okay. For example, we are talking about remittance and its impact in Bihar or in UP. Okay, you go to
Right, sir.
So go to that particular family and maybe 4-5 family interview and see their response and their overall living condition and all. You create a ethnographic study. But secondary resource, how many from Bihar migrated to Gulf, how many, these are all you can take from Ministry of External Sources. You can even write history based on other studies. When the people from Bihar migrated to Gulf, when it started, what is the size of population? You need not to go and ask the person there because it is available elsewhere. But your study on remittance and its impact, you can study for few families, maybe 10 family, just to see their family condition, how they're studying before, after, all this you can study. And we can once see Abha,
Yes, sir.
once the proposal come, we'll discuss again how to get data, what are the sources, and how to we all can help each other. And
that is well taken, sir. I just wanted to know that if it is okay to do just a desk review study on certain topics and not going for a primary data collection, or because data per se within the given time frame is not going to be possible, I think.
Desk research also is a very very much relevant today because of social media and other so many data are available online. Okay,
right, sir.
Unlike earlier time, now many things you can do on desk. Okay, so you identify some area and see how it is happening. For example, talk about Bollywood, its impact on okay. Its impact on diaspora. Those are interested in cultural area, they can study that. There are many ways to study about how feelings impact, okay, within the diaspora. You can see the revenue coming from overseas. You can see how it is operated, what are the themes, so many areas are there. Okay, so that is not a problem.
Right, sir. Right, sir. Okay. Right, sir.
Any other? Manish, you have raised your hand, but Manish.
That is Manish PC. Sir, my question is regarding the old diaspora and the new diaspora. So what you have talked about, that the new diaspora connectivity with its a native country is more political and economic in nature, where the old diaspora is more concerned with the cultural aspect. So, I mean, the diaspora has to be necessarily actively connected to his homeland.
No need.
So, for example, if I am Indian, I have settled in, say, Mauritius, and I have become a native Mauritius, and I am working for their welfare. So yes, I am a diaspora as long as I can say that I am, yes, I came from India. My forefather came from the India. So right now, which one is more? The political and economic integration is high or cultural is high? What is the presently going on?
Actually, there are diverse. Indian diaspora is not very monolithic. It is a very diverse. Okay, what to see in USA is not same as what you see in Mauritius. Okay, Mauritius people are cut up, but they are very much imagine they think about India. You see, it can be imaginary. Home link is not necessarily real. It can be imaginary. People nostalgic feeling. See, that is important. You remember about your childhood. Okay, you need not necessarily go to your native place and call your friends and all the time, but your nostalgic itself is a diasporic feeling. Okay, it can be imaginary, it can be real. So this is where you see old diaspora is more form of imaginary, where they cannot afford to come to India because you need resource, you need family links. Many they lost the family link, okay, because they have gone already 5-6 generation is over. They have no family link, okay. Whereas new diaspora, they have almost past second generation. They have their family, living here till uncle, grandfather, and all this. So they have reason to come back, reason to maintain relation, and this new media is helping. When the old diaspora went, there was no telephone, there is no social media, so their linkages are different. New diaspora is different. Okay, it's obvious. Okay.
And sir, other thing is that yes, we talk about the diaspora relation with its native country, but what about the diaspora relation with its host country? For example, what I find that in the host country government always looks at the diaspora with a suspicious eyes. For example, during the World War II, in the USA, the Japanese people from the Japanese diaspora was isolated. They were put in actually a camp, right? Similarly, if we look at in the Greece, where the Turkish diaspora is there, they are always seen as a suspicion that they can do some anti-national activities. So ideally what should happen? The host country should look diaspora that these are the best brains which have migrated, and I need to make the best use of their capability. And this is the premise on which the USA is formed. So what actually is happening? Which countries they look diaspora as an asset and which countries look diaspora as a liability?
Every country look both ways. See, when you talk about economics, that aspect comes, they think contribution. When you see politics, this is just opposite. Okay, because political power is a game of demography. Okay, so once you see many countries, there are examples when people migrate, they over time they take over the country political power. Okay, it happened to many Indian in Guyana, in Mauritius, all this. Okay, native people are, so this apprehension is there in many countries. So USA is a economic, it's economically more powerful because they are the top economy in the world, and the immigrants are the contributor of their economy. And today they reject immigrants, tomorrow they'll become, their economy will collapse. So they cannot avoid immigrants. They have to sustain their economy. So there is an economic necessity, but politically it's a conflicting, because you see the recent time, all this bomb culture, people are killing. Mostly they are targeting minority schools, which is operated by minority. You see, this is the latest gone shoot was Mexico school. Okay, so like that, that will be there all the time, where the America is equally controlled by politics and economy. When you see Microsoft, many big corporate in Silicon Valley and all, they actually their supply demand is global, whether it's capital or human resource. They cannot avoid international talent, but politics can avoid, because they can simply make anti-immigrant, rhetoric, narratives, and they can create problem. So this is a, US will find both things are actually contesting. Sometimes one is superseding the other. Okay, last few years during Trump time, you find lots of anti-immigrant, protest, and Mexico wall, this immigrant restriction, all during Trump time. Now things are again. You see, USA taken maximum number of students this year, last 2 years, Indian students. So then again they open because they cannot survive without immigrants. This is what the story of USA. When you talk about other countries, the story is different because their economic, they are not thinking. They are more concerned about political power. Okay.
Yeah. So, sir, you rightly said that in a nutshell, you said yes, that as when economically is concerned, economically they are beneficial for them, but when they started making political impact, then the native that is really true. For example, what I have seen that in the Germany, the Turkish diaspora is there, and when there are election in the Germany, for example, Erdogan goes to to Germany to campaign, because those people can influence their relative in this thing, and then it becomes a problem, and more so when both countries are at odds, then it becomes a real serious issue.
That's true. No, it happens even in cricket match. You just see, even in UK, there is a match between UK and India team. Many support India there, so they will obviously feel, something. They think that these Indians are not loyal to our country. Okay, so like that happening, and this is actually fueling that suspicion. When any cricket match or any leader goes from here to their country, you see the kind of response they get, that creates problem. So politically they create a kind of narrative to match that. Okay. So okay, then anything else, or I'll stop now. Okay, sir. Goodbye. And you have the record here.
Sir, so today lecture is over, right?
Okay.
Every day, every Saturday, 1.5 hour, around 1.5 hour lecture.
No, we may increase, because if you all agree, we can increase to 3 hours.
I am okay with that, sir.
Okay, so that will cover many units, and more than that, you see, you'll interact with many people and you feel active, and we should not, have more dropout. 40 students joined, all should complete by December. Okay. Timely, we should complete. Okay. Take care. Bye.
Thank you very much, sir.